Hello and welcome. Today we're diving into something we all have, that voice inside our heads. We're going to look at the powerful and, let's be honest, sometimes super dramatic language we use in our own minds. The big idea here is that maybe, just maybe, those words aren't just describing our feelings, but are actually creating them. So let's get into it. I battle my demons. Does that sound familiar? You've probably heard it or even said it. It's so powerful, right? It sounds almost heroic. It paints this epic picture of you in some grand conflict, fighting against this huge, dark force. But here's a thought. What if it's not a battle at all? What if the words themselves are the real issue? Think about it. What if saying you're battling demons is exactly what's making you feel like you're under attack? What if the language isn't just a description? What if it's the cause? Okay, so how does our thinking get so dramatic in the first place? It doesn't just happen overnight. Let's dig into the mechanics of why our thoughts can get so, distorted. Well, modern psychotherapy has a really interesting concept for this. It's called your attributional style. Basically, it's your brain's default setting for explaining the world to yourself. It's the lens you use to make sense of everything that happens, good or bad. And here's where things can really take a turn. When normal, everyday stress crosses the line and becomes more of a disorder, it can actually change that default setting. It can trigger what's called a negative shift in thinking. All of a sudden, your go-to way of explaining things becomes unhelpful, pessimistic, and often really dramatic. But here's the good news, and it's really good news. You are not stuck with that programming. Not at all. There are proven, totally practical ways to take back control of that inner story. Let's look at one of the best tools out there for doing just that. And that tool is called Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, or CBT. Now, don't think of it as some kind of complicated, heavy therapy. It's much more like a practical toolkit. Seriously, it's all about learning the skills to notice your thoughts, challenge them, and then consciously replace that dramatic script with something that's way more accurate and rational. And this is absolutely crucial. CBT is not toxic positivity. It is not about just slapping a think positive sticker on a real problem. No way. It's actually the opposite. It's about being realistic, rational, and honest with yourself, not just forcing some happy feeling that isn't really there. Okay, so enough with the theory. Let's see how this actually works. We're going to look at a few common, dramatic thoughts and see how we can reframe them into something way more manageable and true. Let's go back to our first one. I battle my demons. That phrase makes you a victim, right? Like you're under attack from this outside evil force. But look at the reframe. It brings all the power back to you. It acknowledges the reality. I find it difficult sometimes, but it also states your agency. I'm learning and doing my best. See the difference? One is a war. The other is a journey. Here's another one we've all felt. I can't cope. It just feels so absolute, doesn't it? Like a dead end. It shuts down any possibility of moving forward. But the reframe is so much more honest. I find it difficult to cope right now. That one little change makes it temporary, not a permanent state. And then you add that self-compassion. But I'm doing my best, and it's okay. Oh, this is a perfect one. People are horrible. It's this huge, sweeping generalization that just makes the whole world look dark. But the reframe is so much more precise. It gets to the real truth of the feeling. It's the behavior of some people some of the time. It's not a drama, it's just a fact. And you can deal with a fact. And this whole idea is not some new agey thing. People have known this for ages. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said this almost 2,000 years ago. It's not the event that gets upset. It's the story we tell ourselves about the event. And hey, even Shakespeare was in on it. Nothing is good or bad. Thinking makes it so. Our thoughts are literally the paintbrush that colors our world. It's all about perspective. So the big question is, how do you make this stick? It's one thing to understand the idea, but it's another thing to actually do it when you're feeling stressed. Well, it all starts with a very simple but incredibly powerful action. This is your practical guide. The next time you catch one of those big dramatic thoughts, just stop and ask yourself these 4 questions. 1. What's the actual real evidence for this? 2. Does believing this thought help me or hurt me? 3. How does it make me feel in my body, and how does it make me act? And 4, this is the killer question. What would I say to my best friend if they were the one saying this? Suddenly, you can give yourself the same kindness you'd give to someone you love. And this right here, this might be the most important piece of the whole puzzle. Lasting change happens when you find your own words. The examples we used are great, but the real power comes from discovering the reframes that sound authentic and rational to you in your own voice. So why is finding your own words so important? Well, check out this number. Studies suggest we remember about 80% of what we learn when we figure it out for ourselves. Compare that to maybe 20% of what we're just told. It's a principle called learning by discovery, and it's a game changer. When you physically write down that dramatic thought, analyze it, and then write out a new, more rational script for yourself, you're not just reading an idea, you are actively rewiring your brain. You're embedding this new skill so deeply that it becomes second nature. So let's pull all of this together. This whole process really is about a massive shift in your role. You go from being a character who's just thrown around in some chaotic drama to becoming the calm, clear-headed author of your own story. So, what are the big takeaways here? First, that dramatic language you use can actually be the source of your upset. Second, CBT is a toolkit for rational, realistic thinking, not just blind positivity. Third, writing this stuff down is what really makes the change stick. And finally, and most importantly, you and only you can rewrite your inner script. I just love this quote that came from a therapy client because it completely nails the feeling. Oh God, the drama of my head is bloody exhausting. Because it is. Living in that state of constant battle and high drama is just tiring. And realizing that is the first step to wanting to write a better story. And that brings us to a final question. For you, take a second and think about your own inner monologue. What's one of your recurring, dramatic lines? What's one script that you could rewrite right now into something a little more realistic, a little more rational, and a whole lot less exhausting?